Hello friends, welcome to class of transportation engineering. In this lecture, we will be discussing the next chapter, that is the design of rigid pavements. In the previous chapter, what we covered was design of flexible pavements, okay, and we also completed numericals based on it. And now we will be moving on to the next chapter, that is the design of rigid pavements. Okay, guys. So this is the last topic or the last chapter as far as highways are concerned. After this chapter, we will be moving on to airport engineering and the railway engineering. Okay. So let us start with rigid pavements. Okay, as you already know, the rigid pavements. Okay. Design of rigid pavements, or we will first discuss the rigid pavements, then we will discuss the parameters associated with. Okay, so the load carrying capacity in rigid pavements is because of the load carrying capacity. Load carrying capacity is because of first one is the rigidity. Okay, rigidity. And second parameter is modulus of elasticity of slab, modulus of elasticity of slab, or you may say that is slab action. Okay, slab action. Okay, guys. And the pavement is considered as a thin elastic plate resting on soil subgrade. It is considered as a thin elastic plate resting on soil surface. Soil surface. Okay, guys. Okay. So let us now discuss with terms associated with the design of rigid pavements. So the first term is the radius of relative stiffness. Okay, the radius of relative stiffness. Radius of relative stiffness. Okay. And it is radius of a circular zone in which it is radius of a circular zone in which the rigid pavement is deflecting. The rigid pavement is deflecting due to wheel load at its center. Deflecting due to wheel load at its center. Okay. So understand what does this mean? It is the radius of relative stiffness is radius of a circular zone in which the rigid pavement is deflecting due to wheel load at its center. So the scenario is of this kind. Suppose this is a ground surface, okay, or the ground level, and there is wheel like this, okay, and there is load P acting over here, okay, at the center of the wheel. And suppose that at the ground level there was a rigid pavement here like this, okay, the slab is of this kind, okay. So what happens that this slab deflects to some extent, okay, it deflects like this. So maybe it deflects in this way, okay. And the bottom edge also deflects like this. So this radius, okay, up to which there exists some deflection, it is called L, denoted by L, that is the radius of relative stiffness. Okay, so I hope you have understood. It is the radius of a circular zone. So this particular zone, okay, if you look in the plan view, okay, it will look like this. In the plan view, it will be something like this. Okay, let's say that the width is P, okay, and this area, okay, this contact area is circular, having radius A, okay, having radius A, and L is this distance up to which there exists some kind of deflection in this slab, okay. So it is again a circle of this kind. So I should have drawn a pavement with higher width, okay. So it is like this. So this distance is L, that is the radius of relative stiffness. So this radius of relative stiffness L is given by formula E by EH cube upon 12k 1 minus mu square to the power 1 by 4. Okay. L equal to EH cube upon 12k 1 minus mu square to the power 1 by 4. This is the formula for the radius of relative stiffness. Okay guys. So let us now see what are the terms in this. So E is the modulus of elasticity of concrete. So I'll write over here. This is this. So where E is the modulus of elasticity of concrete, modulus of elasticity of concrete, that is given as 5000 root FCK. Okay, 5000 root FCK. Okay, mu is the Poisson's ratio of concrete. Okay, mu is the Poisson's ratio of concrete, and as you know, as all of us know, that the value is 0.15 and without any units. H, now we are left with discussion on H and the K. Okay, so I will write it on the next slide. H is the slab thickness. H is the slab thickness. Slab thickness. So here this value, okay, this one, this is the H, the slab thickness, and K is the modulus of subgrade reaction. K is the modulus of subgrade reaction. Okay, modulus of subgrade reaction. Okay, we will be taking up numerical on this particular formula. Okay, so you need not worry about how to apply these values and in what terms, what units. Okay, so we will be taking up numerical based on this. For now, please understand what are the meanings of each of the symbols. Okay, so there is one more term, that is the radius of resisting section. The radius of resisting section, that is denoted as by symbol small b, and it is the radial zone in which the soil below the pavement is deflecting. Okay, it is the radial zone in which the soil below the pavement is deflecting. Suppose here was the soil. Okay, here was the soil, and there will be some zone up till some point. Okay, like this, up to which the soil is going to deflect. Okay, so say it has got this circle. Okay, again just like there is a circle more, and that is the B, called as radius of resisting section. That is the only section that is resisting the deflection of this pavement. Okay, and here the support is the soil, the subgrade. So it is the resisting section is the subgrade of the soil. Okay, so please write down the radial zone in which soil below the pavement, soil below the pavement, below the pavement is deflecting, Okay guys, it is the radial zone below in soil below the pavement, radial zone in which the soil below the pavement is deflecting. Okay, that is the radius of resisting section, that is larger than the A value and smaller than the radius of relative stiffness. That means it depends on the stress distribution in what way it takes place. Okay guys, so we will discuss the critical load positions. Okay, critical load positions for the design of rigid pavements. Okay, so please write down the critical load positions we are going to discuss. Critical load positions. Okay, positions. See guys, see, since the pavement is like this. Okay, so this is soil, and the pavement is being dressed like this. So there will be some self weight, say W. Self weight is W kilonewton per meter square, or W kilonewton per meter, and there will be equal and opposite reaction from the soil. Okay, so it will be like this. So this load, the self weight, is getting nullified. Okay, so that is the reason the stresses due to self weight are ignored as pavement panel is fully supported over the soil. Okay, since it is fully supported over the soil, the stresses due to the self weight are ignored. So please make a point, write a note that the stresses due to self weight are ignored as pavement panel is fully supported over soil. Fully supported over soil. Okay. Second point is that the live load on pavement is moving wheel loads. So the live load here, live load is the moving wheel loads, and so we have to now decide the position of this moving wheel load at which the stresses are going to be critical. Okay. So for our convenience, let us define the places like the, say this is the rigid pavement, the top view. These are the corners. Okay, these are the corners. Okay, these four are the edges. I am writing them as capital E, and here is the I, that is the internal loading. So safest loading position is the interior one. Okay, this is, please write down the safest loading position. Safest loading position is interior. Okay, interior. Okay, guys. And the most critical is the loading at corner. Most critical position is position is loading at corners. Okay, loading at corners that causes tension at that causes tension at top. Okay, tension at top. So you see, if the wheel is placed over here, suppose here is the wheel load, then what is going to happen is that if I draw it as an isometric view, this one I am drawing over here, say, okay, I'll draw this corner. Okay, this corner I'll draw here. So in isometric view, I hope you get to see this. I have written C over here. Okay, if wheel load is placed over here, then it is going to deflect this way. Okay? This way it is going to deflect. So naturally it is somewhat hogging, and that is the reason that the top fibers are in tension. Okay, guys, the top fibers are in tension. Okay, so and the when the loading is at interior when the loading is at interior, okay, when the loading is at interior, when the loading is at it causes tension at bottom. Okay, tension at bottom. Okay, guys, so it is very important to understand this. So here you should make it clear to yourself that the loading is called as interior loading whenever the load is applied at interior away from the edges. Okay, away from the edges, and the load is applied at edges. It's said to be applied at edges when it is applied on edges but away from the corner. Okay, so these are just the terminologies that would define the position or the location of loads. Okay, so there are various methods to find out the stresses due to wheel loads. Okay, and we are not going to discuss all of them. The reason being, the formula are usually the empirical ones that I'll be discussing. I'll be also giving you the reasons that why it is not possible and why it is not that important from gate point of view. Okay, so for now, you please write down the Westergaard's equation for wheel loads. Okay, Westergaard's equation Westergaard's equation for wheel loads. Wheel loads. Okay, and it is the tensile stress at slab top is given as tensile stress at slab top is given as sigma c equal to 3p upon h square 1 minus a by root 2 by L to the power zero point 0.6. Okay, and all the symbols have got their usual meanings, and I have already defined what the meaning of each of them is. Okay, so the modified Westergaard formula. Okay, the modified Westergaard formula, now write down modified Westergaard formula. Okay, it is the modified Westergaard formula, and sigma c is given as, again, sigma c tensile stress at slab top is 3p by h square upon 1 minus a root 2 by L to the power 1.2 bracket completed. Just it was 0.6 and here it is 0.6 into 2. L stands for radius of the relative stiffness. A is the, the radius of the wheel. H is the thickness of the slab. P is the load. Okay. So let us now discuss the Westergaard's equations for wheel loads. Okay. So what we discussed, the wheel stress at the corner. Uh, let us now discuss at the interiors. Okay. For interior loading, please don't try to remember this formula. Okay. Just for your information, I am giving it 0.316 p upon h square 4 log to the base 10 L by B plus 1.069. Okay, that is at the interior. For edge loading, the formula is sigma E equal to 0.572 p upon h square and 4 log to the base 10 L by B 1 plus 0.359. Okay, bracket completed. And sigma c I have just mentioned, okay, in previous slide. Okay, it was like 3p upon h square 1 minus a root 2 by L to the power 0.6, and that was modified to 1. So these formula are given by the Westergaard for the wheel loads. But you see, guys, this was in old IRC. Okay, this formula was in old IRC and that is outdated. So you need not remember this formula, and also it is such a lengthy equation, and I don't know how to remember it. Okay, and the current IRC gives only the formula, discusses the formula for edge and corner loading only. Okay, edge and corner loading only. Edge and corner loading only. Okay, and also they have not directly taken this formula, but they have slightly modified that. In place of 0.6 they have taken 0.12, that was modified by the Taylor and Sutherland in 1936. Okay, some formula like edge and the corner, both the formula have been modified and been given in the IRC, the Indian Road Congress. Okay, in IRC, the formula for the edge loading is also not directly incorporated as given by the Westergaard, but it is modified as 0.529 p by h square 1 plus 0.54 mu into 4 log to the base 10 L by B plus log to the base 10 B minus 0.4048. Okay, guys. So this is the formula for edge loading in the IRC. But what I will suggest you that, see, it is such a lengthy formula and very rare chance in asking in gate, no chance almost. At the max, what you do is you remember this formula. Okay, at the max you remember this formula for the corner loading, that is 3p upon h square 1 minus a root 2 by L to the power 1.2. Okay, as far as the wheel loads are concerned in this. Okay, so remember only one formula, that is a very rare chance of being asked in the gate examination. Okay, so let us now move on to the temperature stresses. Okay, the temperature stresses. Okay, guys, the temperature stresses. So this comes under the secondary stresses. Okay, secondary stresses. The first one out of the secondary stresses is the temperature stresses, and the second one is the frictional stresses. Frictional stresses. We will discuss each of them into details. And the primary stresses was the stresses due to wheel loads. Okay, there was only one, the stress due to wheel loads. Okay, due to wheel loads. Okay, so as far as temperature stresses are concerned, now we are going to discuss the temperature stresses, and the first is the warping stress. Okay, I get A is the warping stress. Warping stress. Okay, and that was analyzed by Bradbury. Okay. Bradbury, very important and famous name. Okay, so during the night. Okay, so what happens that warping is because of the daily variation. Okay, daily variation of temperature. Warping is because of the daily variation of temperature. Daily variation of temperature. Okay, guys. What daily variation does is it causes the temperature gradient across the depth of the slab. Okay, temperature gradient across depth of slab, depth of slab that leads to warping. Okay, that leads to warping. So let's discuss that in summers. We are discussing about the day. So during the night time, okay, or say during the daytime, suppose this is the ground level and there is a pavement. The pavement is going to warp like this. Okay, there will be some temperature gradient across this depth. Okay, the temperature will be reducing as you go down. Okay, so not like this, but it may be of this kind, the linear temperature profile. And say there is sun here like this. Okay, during daytime the pavements are going to warp this way. Okay, daytime. I am drawing an exaggerated view, but it is important for your understanding. Okay, and during the night time the pavements are going to warp in this way. During the night time, as the temperature in the bottom is going to remain the higher temperature is at the bottom. Okay, so if the pavement is fully warping, no stresses develop. Okay, the diagrams that I have drawn, okay, like it should be actually like this, that the earlier it was over here, earlier the pavement was of this kind, and here also the pavement was of this kind, and it has now warped in this way. Okay, so if there is no resistance to warping, or if a pavement is freely warping, please write down, if pavement is freely warping, no stresses are developed. No stresses are developed. Okay, please bear with the handwriting. Over a warped surface, if wheel load is placed, stresses develop. Over a warped surface, if wheel load is placed, the stresses are developed. Okay, the stresses are developed. Okay, so nature of warping stress is same as wheel load stress. Please write down that the nature of warping stress is same as wheel load stress. Wheel load stress. Okay, guys. Wheel load stress. So as usual, that at interiors and at the edges, the tension is at bottom. Okay, tension at bottom. So it is the same as the wheel load stress. Okay, and if the stress is at corner is tension at top. Okay, tension at top. Okay, guys. So the warping stress at edge is given by formula. The formulae are given by Bradbury. So the warping stress at edge are given as sigma w in bracket age, okay, small e stands for age, so cx e alpha t by 2 or cy e alpha t upon 2, whichever is higher, whichever is higher, okay guys, it is very important, whichever is higher, where T is the temperature gradient across the pyramid, temperature gradient across the pyramid, and alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion, coefficient of thermal expansion, okay guys, and warping stresses at corner are given by warping stresses at corners are given as sigma w at corner is equal to e alpha t upon 3 1 minus mu root of a by l, okay, root of a by l. So instead of this as temperature gradient across the pyramid, I'll say that instead of this is not a right term to call it as temperature gradient, call it as temperature differential during day. Okay, I'll take it on the next slide. Please write down. We will not be taking. We will take this question later. Okay, where alpha is coefficient of linear expansion per degree Celsius. Coefficient of linear expansion per degree Celsius. Okay, and T is temperature differential during the day. Temperature differential during day between top and bottom. Top and bottom in degree Celsius. Okay. Cx is the coefficient based on Lx upon L in desired direction. Desired direction. I hope you understood what is Lx upon L. Okay. And Cy is the coefficient based on Ly upon small l. I hope you know what is small l. Again in the right angle to the direction of this direction. Okay, in right angle direction to the above direction, we will write it down. So Lx and Ly, Lx is the short direction of slab or the length of the short length of the slab, and Ly is the long length of the slab. Okay, of the slab, and the small l is known to you. I will not repeat it. So just like this, the warping stresses at the edge and warping stresses at the corners. The Bradbury in 1938 has also given a formula according to by using which we can find the warping stress at interior. Okay, but you know guys, you really don't need all this formula, and at the interior is the safest region. So let us just focus on the that is not required in the design. So let us focus on the warping stresses at the edges and at the corners. Okay, so I am not discussing that formula the at interior, but just for your information I'll write it like this here. Please keep this one because there is no chance of asking any numerical, because that is not useful for us. Cx plus mu cy upon 1 minus mu square. Okay, so this is for the warping stress at the interior, formula for warping stress at the interior. Okay, so let us now discuss the next type of the secondary stress. Okay, so we are discussing the secondary stresses, and we just discussed the warping stresses. Okay, warping stresses. Okay, and the second type is the frictional stresses. Okay, the frictional stresses. In winter, the temperature decreases Please write down that in winter the temperature decreases. Okay, and the tension develops. Tension develops. So by saying that the tension develops, I mean that the frictional stresses are tensile. Okay, in winter, the frictional stresses are tensile. Okay, I mean to say this. Okay, and in summers, in summers, the temperature increases, the compression develops. Temperature increases and the compression develops. Okay, that is the frictional stresses are compressive. So I'll just show you how it is. So say this, there is a pavement like this. Okay, and okay, so there is pavement like this. Yes. So and this is the other side. Okay, so this is length L, just I am showing, and this is B, and it is resting on the ground. Okay, it is resting on ground. So there is weight W acting like this. As the temperature decreases, okay, this is going to contract like this. Okay, this is going to decrease like this, and the friction is going to act in the opposite direction. The friction is going to act like this. That is the reason the friction is said to be tensile over here. The frictional stresses generated are tensile. And if it was summer, then this would tend to expand like this. Okay, this would tend to expand like this in the opposite direction, and exactly opposite will be the friction in this direction. Okay, frictional force in this direction. So in summers, the as the temperature increases, the pavements are going to expand, which results in compressive frictional stresses. Okay, please understand that how I am saying this. Okay, so let us see that how to put it mathematically now. So how to find this frictional stress? Okay, so as we all know that the frictional force is equal to the resisting force. Frictional force is equal to the resisting force. So what will be happening is there we say there is friction in this direction. Okay, say that there is friction in the outward direction. Okay, say it is in tension, the frictional force is in tension. Okay, like this is the friction, and there will be some cross section here like this that will be subjected to tension like this. Okay, so there will be some resistance offered to this frictional force that is tensile in nature. Okay, so the frictional force will be given as F. Okay, let us say that the frictional force is F, and the resisting force will be equal to the stress carrying capacity, the allowable stress or the stress carrying capacity into area of cross section. Okay, this area of cross section, which is B into small h, where B is this width. Okay, this is the area that I am considering. So this one, this length is the B1, and h is the height of this slab. Okay, and the F value, okay, this F, capital F is the frictional force is the coefficient of friction into the weight of the slab, that is N, and that is the normal reaction, which is W by 2, since we are considering only half the panel. Okay, half the width we are considering. Okay, so since we are considering the half the width, and naturally the weight will be half, that will be equal to sigma F into B into H. Therefore sigma F will be equal to F into F into this I can still more manipulate. I'll write it over here itself because you won't understand. I can still expand this W term to F into gamma C into B into L into H by 2. Okay, so it is volume into density. Okay, volume into density. Gamma is the density or the unit weight. Volume is B into L into H. So this is for B, L into H is of the complete pavement, and we are dividing it by 2 just because we are considering only half of the pavement. Okay, that is the friction is generated only in the half of the pavement. Okay, in one side. Okay, in either of the sides, and that will be equal to here, that will be again equal to sigma F into B into H. So B into H gets cancelled, and that is the reason you get sigma F equal to, here I am writing sigma F equal to F gamma concrete into L by 2. Okay. So you see that the frictional stresses are purely the function of the length of the pavement. Okay, is the function of the length of the pavement. That is what we should notice from here. Okay, it is directly proportional to the length of the pavement. Okay, so you can make a note that tension developed in winter due to drop in temperature causes the slab to develop crack in the middle. Okay, since it is a tensile crack. So please write down tension developed in winter. Tension developed in winter due to drop in temperature. Due to drop in temperature causes the slab to crack in the middle. Okay, crack in the middle. See what in winters the tensile stresses are generated, as a result of which the concrete is weak in tension, and that is the reason that the slab will tend to crack in the middle, and there will be no such major problem in summers. Okay guys, and that is the reason to reduce the tensile stresses due to friction, it is better to construct pavements in winter. Okay, and even if it is compulsory to construct the pavement in the in summers, then the night time is preferable. Okay, so because the temperature gradient will be lesser then. Okay, so please write down that to reduce the tensile stress due to friction, it is better to construct pavements in winter. Construct pavement in winter. Okay, in winter. If it is compulsory to construct in summer, if it is compulsory to construct in summer, then the night time is better one. Then the night time is preferable. Okay, night time is preferable. Is better, I say better. So guys, you see that there are two types: the stresses due to the friction and the warping stresses. The difference between these two was the temperature gradient across the depth. Okay, so the warping stresses were developed because of the uh, daily variation of the temperature. Okay, daily gradient, and this one is because of the seasonal variation. Okay, in seasonal variation, the across the complete depth, the temperature is going to constantly increase or constantly decrease. Okay, that is the reason we are not considering warping over here. Okay, so you need not question that, oh, why sir you are not showing warping over here. So here we are considering the seasonal temperature variation, which is not having any gradient across the depth. Okay guys, so please understand the difference between the warping stresses and the frictional stresses. Warping stresses are because of the daily variation of temperature, and the frictional stresses are because of the seasonal variation of temperature. Okay, so I am sure that it is clear to you, just for clarification, please write down that the warping stresses It is due to daily variation, due to daily variation resulting in a temperature gradient across the thickness, in a temperature gradient across the thickness of the slab, okay, causing warping, okay, causing warping. And the frictional stresses are because of the seasonal variation resulting in overall change in slab temperature. Seasonal variation resulting in overall variation or change in the overall change in the slab temperature. Overall change in the slab temperature. Okay, that causes the frictional stresses. So there is no gradient across the depth, okay, across the depth of the slab, but in this case there will be some gradient across the depth of the slab. Okay, so please write down the critical combination of stresses. Critical combination of stresses. Okay, so we have discussed the three types of stresses, that is the stresses due to wheel loads, stresses due to warping, and the stresses due to friction. Okay, so what will be the critical combination of these stresses? Okay, so in the summer midday, okay, in the summer midday, the critical stress is for edge region. Critical stress is for edge region. Okay, edge region, and we will be following sign convention. That compression we will be showing negative and tension we will be showing as positive one. Okay, tension is positive and the compression is negative. So sigma critical. Okay, sigma critical during the summer midday will be at edge. Okay, in the edge region will be sigma E plus sigma warping at edge minus sigma frictional. Okay, so this one is the wheel load stress. Wheel load stress. This is the warping stress. The warping stress, and this one is the frictional stress. The frictional stress, and each of them is at edges. Okay, each of them is at edge. Okay, you see that in summer the in summer the frictional stress is tensile. Okay, frictional stress is tensile, that is why it is negative sign. Okay, it is negative sign over here. So the tensile, sorry, the frictional stress is compressive, that is why there is negative sign over here. Okay, and similarly you can apply same logic over here, that is at the edges. Okay, the wheel load stress at the bottom portion is going to be the tensile one, that is why it is positive over here, and similar is the case as we have already defined, that at the edge the warping stress will be positive. Okay, so that was case 1. Case 2 we will discuss winter midday. Winter midday. Okay, critical stress is for edge region. Critical stress is for edge region. Okay, guys. Critical stress is for the edge region, and sigma critical. Okay, sigma critical, that is the load plus the warping at the edge, and the plus sigma f. Okay, so it is important to understand that these 1 and 2 have remained the same since it is midday, and though it is summer and the winter the change, but it is the wheel load has got nothing to do with it. And Warping stresses are purely based on the uh, variation during the daytime, so it is midday in both the cases. And even if it was the night case, then also the warping stresses were going to be positive at the edges. Okay, so that it was going to be in tension, and uh, the frictional stresses, okay, during the midday are going to be tensile one. Okay, sorry, the frictional stresses depend on the seasonal variation. Okay, so here it was summer, and because of summer it was the compressive one, and here it is winter, so it is going to be positive one over here. Okay, so you have to just have attention towards the sign of the frictional stresses. Now we will take a third case, and then you will realize why you need to have sign at the frictional stresses only. Okay, so the third case is case number 3 is winter midnight. Winter midnight. Okay, critical stress is for the corner region. Critical stress is for corner region. Okay, so sigma critical is equal to sigma c plus sigma we, and no frictional stresses they have mentioned. So please make a note that the stress due to friction at corner is always 0. Stress due to friction at corner is always zero. And the second note is that maximum stress due to friction develops at edge region of middle of length. Okay. The next one is the maximum stress due to friction. Stress due to friction develops at the edge region. Okay, at the edge region at middle of the length. At middle of the line. Okay, guys. So if you look at, there are only 3 cases, and if you look at this formula, these first 2 terms, this one and this one, okay, this first and the second term, and in this case also the third formula also, the first and the second term, you see that they are going to remain positive. Okay, so we don't have to worry about this. Only thing is that whenever you are considering at corner, there will be no third term, that is the frictional stresses will be 0 at the corners, and in this case you have to consider the values for frictional stresses based on the whether it is compressive or the tensile one. Okay, so here in this case the compression is negative and tension is positive, and these frictional stresses are purely depend on the seasonal variation. That's why in summer the frictional stresses are negative, that are the compressive, and in the winters the frictional stresses are positive, that is they are tensile one. Okay, so we should take few examples based on this. Okay, guys. So the question number 1 based on this is that you will be given with the stresses. Okay, at various locations at various conditions. Okay, so like for example, the wheel loads, stresses due to wheel loads. Okay, stresses due to wheel loads. I'm just writing wheel loads are being given as sigma E equal to 30 kg per centimeter square, and sigma C is equal to 30 kg per centimeter square. I'll explain these E and C terms. Okay, due to warping. Okay, warping stresses. Okay, sigma WC is equal to 7 kg per centimeter square, and sigma W at the edges is equal to 8 kg per centimeter square in the summer. Okay, this for the summer. Sigma W at the edge is equal to 6 kg per centimeter square in the winter. Okay, and frictional stresses, the frictional stresses, sigma F in bracket W is equal to 4 kg per centimeter square, and sigma F in summer will be equal to Ra given to be 5 kg per centimeter square. So if you look at this, see it is wheel loads at the stresses at the edge is given, okay? Stress at the corner is given, warping the warp, the suffix W stands for the warping one, and C stands for corner, E stands for edges. And at the summer and the winter at the edges, the stresses at the edges during summer and the winter are different ones. And as far as the frictional stresses are concerned, they are given as the frictional stresses during winters and during the summers, since frictional stresses are purely dependent on the seasonal variation of temperature. Okay, guys. So you will be given with data in words, okay, and you will have to work with this data to find out the critical stresses. So guys, over here it is not 30, it is 32 kg per centimeter square. Okay, so the critical stresses, okay, so during summer midday, okay, so I'm writing over here, case 1 is summer midday, okay, summer midday, the sigma C value is equal to sigma E plus sigma W at edges, sigma warping at edges minus sigma frictional, okay, equal to 30 plus 8 minus 5, that is 33 kg per centimeter square. Okay, so it is very simple, it is known to you already. So sigma edges is comes from here 30, warping at the edges in the summers is 8, and the frictional stresses during summer are the negative ones, and they are 5 kg per centimeter square, and we just calculated it to be 33 kg per centimeter square. So please do the similar thing for the winter midday case and the winter midnight case. Okay, winter midday and the winter midnight case. Please do it, guys. So I hope that you already have done these two steps. Okay, all of you may have. And the most critical stress value, okay, we have got now the three stresses, then which of these is the most critical one? So that will be the maximum of these three. So please write down, therefore most critical stress value is equal to maximum of the above three. Okay, maximum of the above three, that is equal to 40 kg per centimeter square. 40 kg per centimeter square. So the question was originally that what is the most critical stress value, so for which we had to consider three cases, that is the summer midday, winter midday, and the winter midnight case. Okay, so in this accordingly we found out the stress levels at the uh, critical stresses. Okay, we found out the critical stresses, and they were at the edges during the summer midday and during the winter midday, and it was at corner during the winter midnight. So please, you should just it is at corner. Okay, it is at edge, and in this case also it is at edge. Okay, guys, it is at edge. So whenever it is at edge, there will be this third term, that is the frictional stresses. Okay, since it is at edge, there will be this frictional term, but at corners the frictional stress is 0, that's why there will be no third term. So whenever you are doing it corners, don't consider any friction over here. So 40 kg per centimeter square is the most critical stress value. Okay guys, so in the next lecture we will start with discussion on joints in rigid pavements. Okay, so please write down the joints in rigid pavements. Okay, joints in rigid pavements. And for now we will stop over here. So after discussing the joints in rigid pavements, we will take some examples based on it, and afterwards after the numericals, we will be able to complete this particular chapter most probably in the next lecture. Okay guys, so thank you so much and see you in the next lecture.